Hey everyone, welcome to AfterBuzz TV's review of Billions, Season 3, Episode 9, Icebreaker. We are going to talk Chuck and his moral dilemma, and also Axe and maybe his potential moral dilemma. Stay tuned because we have news, we have AfterBuzz catches, and we have our millennial translator.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Darkness at the break. Last week I was rocking out hard to the guitar, and I'll just strum my guitar. Do a little finger picking here. Hey everyone, welcome to the AfterBuzz TV show, where we are reviewing Billions this week. I am joined by two lovely co-hosts and someone new. We have Brooke. Hello, Brooke, and hi, Keven Undergaro.
Keven Undergaro here.
Yeah, welcome. Yes, we have a wonderful new addition. We need all the help we can, and we brought in another super fan to the Billions show. So please welcome her warmly. Hi guys. Hi. So initial thoughts. What'd you think, Brooke?
Oh my goodness, so much is going on, like every single episode, and they really set us up for meeting these new characters, which I think is great. And now we have these two master, manipulators, calculators, whatever you want to say, kind of going at it on their own with two different people. So it's an interesting juxtaposition. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's I think we're seeing this episode a lot of a lead up to everything that's going to happen now. The rest is kind of the build up. This is also a building episode as well.
Exactly.
Kevin, what'd you think?
I loved it, and I think that it's interesting. Both guys are selling more of their souls, but what I really love is I'm this season I'm liking Chuck so much more. I found myself not.
You
liking
are
him.
loving him. You are.
Yeah, because he's really bothered by what's going on with the guards and this innocent man.
Yeah.
And I always had felt he was an ends justify the means kind of guy, and he's not. He's going back to justice and doing the right thing, and I think I like him a lot more for that, and I like seeing it, and I also, wonder how amoral acts can be pushed, and I think meeting somebody so completely immoral as he has in his side of the story is going to show us, I hope, a more human side of him.
Yeah, well, I think what you're seeing especially is what Wendy's words that she said about an episode or two ago, where it's, why did you get into law in the first place?
Yeah.
Why did you, where's that passion? And start with that again. And so now we're seeing the old Chuck, I think. He lost his ways. He got a little clouded.
Right.
So yeah, that's actually a good segue right now. Let's go to Team Chuck, talk on Team Chuck's side, and let's talk about what happened with Kate, Chuck, and the whole Lugo situation. That got brought back up again, which it always does. We always talk about every week how these writers don't just say stuff or put storylines in, not to end them. This is going to now have a final resolution. So what did you guys think about what was happening with that? How he comes back and now the poor kid is executed.
I mean, it's not something that's not uncommon in our justice system today. So I'm really glad that the writers are introducing this inherent institutionalized injustice that is happening now. So it's great to see it present in the episode. And when I found out, I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead, but when I find out what actually happens to Jose Lugo, also something we see now present day, I'm happy to see that, like you mentioned, Chuck is finally going back to why he started working as an attorney in the first place. Wendy had that talk with him when she was convincing him not to run for governor, because ultimately that would not be what would make him happy. And so I'm glad that he is kind of evolving back to the person that we know that Chuck is, and like you say, becoming a little more likable.
Yeah. Because I've always been I think like a lot of the public, a Team Axe guy, but now I'm Team Chuck. I really like Chuck, I like what he's doing. I think what your earlier point about the writing being so layered in this, and we've learned to take no statement at face value, that everything means something. And when he walks into Chuck walks into the office, it's dark, it's morning, no one's there except for Kate. He looks at all the empty desks and he says, "You and I are twins."
Now, is that how did you feel about that statement? Is that something you aspire to be? Do you want to be Chuck's twin if you're Kate, or no?
Well, that's right. I think they're twins in the sense of they're going to fight for justice. And then I think they're also twins in the sense that they will not lose. So when or if they turn on one another, congratulations, you're going to be now fighting your twin.
Till the end. And I think she's also gone through a certain cycle like Chuck has, where she's really had to question her conscience and if she wants to do the next right thing. And she goes back and forth, because I think being in something working in government and seeing all of the corruption that you see, you're constantly fighting that battle. And now, of course, she wants to fight for what's right, and so does Chuck. And I think that that's great. But I think that's essentially what he means as well.
Yeah, and we see those flashbacks too. You're saying her kind of dealing with that dilemma of who she was and who she is now. We see like she used to say, no, I would never prosecute something I didn't believe in. Yet here she is staying up all hours of the night prosecuting something she doesn't believe in.
Yeah, and she says, I hope I lose, but I'm going to give it my all.
Yeah.
So, but...
and Chuck's like, no, you better win.
Right.
Regardless, yeah.
And I thought it was so powerful, that moment where she was like, no, I'm not. It hits her. She arcs. I'm not going to go along with this.
Yeah.
I'm not. This isn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool that, like I said, Chuck was behind her. Like, you're right. We're not going to let this happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it took something as severe as that as a pure execution. And that's what they said. And that's what it was. And it took something that bad to kind of, be like, nope, now we're going to go after this guy. We're going to get this attorney general. This can't happen anymore. Murders are not something that, we're going to deal with lightly, which is great. Finally, good. We're seeing this horrible moral code that's come out in Billions.
Right.
Yay! Awesome. We're a good show again.
Well, isn't it interesting that, maybe I in some ways they sell off pieces of their soul, and then in other ways they're getting more human.
Mm-hmm. And you root for them regardless, either way. Like, even when they were doing their bad stuff, in a sense, we still were rooting for them a little bit.
Yeah, like with Axe even.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
But now you get it even more. Now when they do something good, you relate to that and you want that.
Well, I think seeing the general on the side of Team Chuck, and then seeing, the Russian guy is John Malkovich's new character. Sorry, what's his Andre?
Grigor.
Yeah, Grigor.
See, these guys are, the general and Grigor are like so much more heinous.
Yeah.
That it's allowing us to see our main characters in a better light.
Yeah, and they've changed. But, other people can change as well. And if everyone here that's watching the AFTERBUZZ TV show, Billions, right now, if you want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life, just like Chuck and Axe and everyone on the show is learning to do, we have the podcast for you. It's Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. It's hosted by our AFTERBUZZ TV founder and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews, along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life, which Chuck and Axe should listen to almost every day, I think, in my opinion. From health and wellness to career, relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister you've always wanted. All you got to do is just go to iTunes, subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos, and guess what? It's free. Our favorite word, always free. Be sure to rate and comment when you do, and let Maria know that we sent you. The AFTERBUZZ TV Billions crew sent you there. And it's Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. Go check it out. Let's get back into the general and Chuck, and that whole intro of them killing and murdering, which we realized later, Kev, became the whole theme of the entire episode. The hunt was a big thing, and we see that in our opening scene. What did you guys think about that kind of dark, drastic? You think it set the mood, that opening scene, Brooke?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one line that stuck with me that Chuck said was, once you have the animal in your sight, you breathe easy and you let fly, something that his dad taught him. His dad taught him how to hunt. And if you think about the way that Chuck's worked as his dad, with his dad as his ally, kind of helping him along the way this whole time since season 1 even, way back when they were trying to get Axe. Chuck has used that in a sense, but now Chuck is probably realizing that sometimes the animal's the opposite of who you think it is. And I think we see that later on with Axe too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's deep there.
Well,
that got real deep. I love that.
Remember they're in West Texas, so have you ever heard the term Texas justice? You're right. So it's like this guy, the general, practices this, which is, again, and then justify the means. We take matters into our own hands, and, if someone's a drug dealer, then fuck them. Yeah. Basically. Right. But, the talk about coyotes, I thought very interesting. They're doing what they're programmed for, as are we. And it's very interesting, what's Axe and Chuck programmed for? What's the general program for? We know that. But I love the director. If you see the final shot of Chuck after they shoot the coyote, he's horrified. Yeah. Right. There's a very sensitive side going like, you're really a bad guy, and I feel it, I sense it, even because on the surface, fine, it's a hunting thing, this coyote's eating his sheep or whatever, he's protecting his animals, but later on we have the talk between John Malkovich and I'm sorry again, Grigor.
Grigor, yeah.
and Chuck, and it's all about hunting and how you can survival. But then they talk about hunting and how you can hire all these people to do it all for you.
Or you can do it yourself.
Or you can do it yourself.
It depends on what you want.
And so we see that's a callback to what's going on here. The general, he's willing to do it himself. He's willing to pull that guy. He has enough money, I'm sure, to have people protect his. But no, I'm going to pull that guy. So that to me is a reckless, crazy kind of character. And we know Chuck has done nothing but hunt Axe, who says, I'm willing to hunt and butcher myself. So clearly he's going to hunt this guy. But I like Chuck more when I saw that sensitive look on his face. Like, oh my God, this guy's really a bad dude.
Yeah, but that was kind of the lead into the Jose Lugo. And then when he sees this actually put not just towards an animal, but now a human was executed. Now that's the
what I
line.
analogized it to. I saw the coyote as Jose Lugo, and you talked about he's doing what they're programmed to do, kind of Jose Lugo's place in society as a drug dealer, doing what he's programmed to do, maybe because he's out of choices, but yet I don't think Chuck sees him as any less of a person. And of course, Jock later on talks about how different people are not all equal.
Yeah.
Well, the Babylonian way, which is like, that society decided that certain people contribute to society, great, and then the ones who don't, and therefore they're not equal, and the ones who don't, we get rid of.
Yeah.
Or we don't give them, they have no rights.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And we see that meeting between Katie and Chuck and the Attorney General. And I just felt it was so awkward. They wanted to say so much, but then you realize as you're talking to this guy and he's talking about his theories and what he believes in, there's going to be no verbal reasoning with him. He's set in his way.
None.
And there's going to need to be another backdoor way to get this guy out. And that's what we see in the previews for next week, kind of that plan getting put into place. But you're sitting there and I was watching it and they were just kind of this horrified look on their face of like, holy crap, this is who's leading us right now. We're all in trouble.
And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's going to take the female in Chuck's life to figure out exactly what needs to happen, because you can't. He's like, I'm screwed. If I prosecute this guy, I'm doing the wrong thing. If I don't prosecute him, I'm going to get fired, and they're going to prosecute the guy anyway.
Yeah. So regardless of that,
so you're screwed anyway.
Yeah, you're screwed anyway. So how do you feel overall about the general? You think that he's actually going to end up surviving and making it through, or no?
No.
Yeah.
No, our two main characters, the only people that can kill them is the other. It's, you know what I mean? It's Sparta and Athens.
Anyone that gets in the way is gonna get.
But they're so powerful on their ends. No, they'll get beat up for like 9 rounds, but the 10th round, no. I bet on Chuck. I bet on Axe, except against each other.
Right.
Then it's a bloodbath.
Yeah, and then we see at the end, no one will ever win that. It'll just become, just level out like we just saw.
Right.
Yeah, it'll level itself out. But something else that we can chat about real quick is let's go into Chuck, Wendy, and Lonnie. That whole dinner situation.
Dinner
Man, was that awkward. I mean, his wife is just all excited. She's going to have her night of, playing the piano at the Grand Hall, and then this whole craziness
Little
happens.
subtle dig from hubby Lonnie. He's like, I just beats listening to that all day.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No
But
way.
that, again, just those little moments by the writers to reveal his character.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that right there, though, and, Wendy says it perfect at the end, all of that anger that Chuck lashed out onto Lonnie during that dinner was actually meant for the Attorney General.
Right.
So that's kind of like his pre-beating, and like, maybe he shouldn't have said all that, but also Lonnie shouldn't talk about stuff that he has no idea about. And also, he left the whole place as well.
I was going to say, but he's hip to some of it, though, and that's probably why he left, and he knows.
The contradiction he got pointed out was the fact that, you're in this brony suit, and you don't get that for fighting for justice. You get that from, handling expensive cases that really don't have to do oftentimes with justice.
Yeah.
So there's a hypocrisy there, but what he is saying is accurate too.
If you're going to criticize it, at least, try to fight for the right thing, and that, he's left, so Chuck's kind of saying, you have no place to talk now.
Yeah, and so what do you think his role is going to be? Because they brought him back. I'm sure it's not going to just be for one episode. So how is this going to come together? Are they going to now work together again?
I was thinking, maybe Lonnie will wisen up and realize that he should be on the right side and maybe join Chuck.
Well, I think Lonnie is on the right side of it. He just thinks Chuck isn't.
Chuck isn't, yeah.
So I think they probably will. Yeah, it's very astute that we wouldn't have just seen him. he'll be involved somehow.
He's gonna come back, yeah. And Chuck gives him a jab too. He's like, yeah, I can tell by that suit you're wearing, basically, that you're a lawyer that does stuff that nobody cares about. You know, that and it's meaningless work, but you're making all this money. Where here I am, and you're bashing me and you're judging me. Like, no, F you, basically. I don't know. I kind of like that. I kind of like the passion in Chuck's face and his everything. And maybe it was lashed out too hard, but also just shows that no, he has passion for doing what's right now. And like we said, his moral compass, moral code is finally back to a positive one. So that was an awkward dinner.
But it led to led to it pushed the right buttons to lead to the post conversation with Wendy.
With Wendy, yeah. So Wendy and him, they come back and meet, and I just imagine, because this is New York City, and he probably just walked on home, because they obviously, you would have talked about this on the walk home, but we see them, they're in their little library, their little sitting area, and that's just kind of what I love about New York too. You get mad, you can literally just go walk home. Not in LA. Okay, well now I have to get in my car and drive or whatever it is. I don't know. That was just a little thing that I just thought was cute.
It's true though. No,
so anyway, so she meets back up with him, and she basically gives kind of the best advice to him. Let's assassinate this mother effer right now. And girl, Wendy, when Wendy puts her mind to it, what did you think about that, Brooke?
No, I loved that scene. And I mean, she's also such a likable character. She's kind of always carries a warm place in everyone's heart throughout. Yeah. And she's also the rational one. She's also the one that's able to kind of be the impetus for Chuck to make the right choice, like the governor's choice, but also to stay strong to who he truly is. And so, yeah, I love that. I love her giving him that push.
Like, what a powerful thing, and how amazing. Like, if you have a therapist as a wife who's also just really good at building people up as her job.
Exactly.
He lucked out with that. Yeah. He married well doing that.
She's so important to both.
Of course.
Team Chuck and Team Axe.
Yeah.
She's just so gangster. And this is why, and there were people in the chat this week that were, debating this back and forth. But that's why I say her and Lara are so similar, because couldn't you hear Lara saying the quote, "You have to assassinate the motherfucker, this motherfucker," right? And that comes out of Wendy's mouth. But the interesting response was from Chuck saying, "I'm an assassin in the dark." And wasn't that what he was when he's with the general?
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning, right?
Oh, completely.
So it was just a great callback.
Oh, that is so true. I didn't even recognize that. But you're right, though. Wendy is kind of, she's got some more kahunas, basically.
I think she always was a badass, but now the slope is getting slipperier for everybody, because these guys have dug in so deep. They've made such bad decisions. But
they might have to rely on her even more. But she's kind of always been the master mover, like the chess mover, figuring out the strategy for everyone and kind of ultimately helping everyone get to where they need to be.
Yeah, and on that, let's switch roles here, and let's go over to Axe. But before we do that, just everyone out there watching us, thank you. And we just want to say thank you. And if you guys like what you're seeing, please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating on there, and comment and let us know what we can do better and what you guys like. And we want to be as involved with you guys as possible. And I wanted to do a few quick fan shout-outs as well. We see all your comments, and I love them. Yogi Lion, amazing. Richie B, Emily Bolvin, and A. Nelson. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'd love to hear your comments on this episode tonight, this week, whenever you have time. Let us know. Let's switch over to Team Axe now. We have, Wendy goes through this whole thing of deciding to sell her Maserati. Why do we think that is?
Well, she said it was guilt.
Yeah.
And she donated to. Did I have this right? She donated to Sean.
$250K.
$250K to Sean to Sean Ailes for his foundation. And the interesting thing was there was a couple of scary things. When Axe says to her, "Were you guys moved?" when he said, "I don't give a fuck what you do with your things."
That was aggressive, but I think it was, it was good though. I think he needed to realize, hey, now that maybe there's this divide and this little line between us, maybe we can't be as close as we were, in my opinion.
But that's not good. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, but I think
she literally sleeps with the enemy.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. And I think now a line needs to be drawn, though. It does.
But it wasn't a light. Brooke, did you take that lightly?
No, not at all. And I also felt like he was kind of giving her a hint. Like, I feel slighted here. Like, I was trying to do something nice for you. I thought it was a nice car. You deserve something nice.
Right.
Trying to do something good, and now you don't appreciate it. So I'm moving further away in a way. That's how I saw it.
Wow.
Yeah, and she gets $200,000 from it, and she goes and $250,000 from it, and then Axe decides to tell her, I remember I felt guilty once, about 16, 17 years ago.
Such an interesting story, and it's very poignant for what happens later.
Yeah.
with the Russian, but basically he flew first class instead of private, for the sake of the greater good, and he snowed in, and he ends up with civilians at trying to find a motel, and the next day he goes and buys a Gulfstream.
Yeah.
And literally, he's like, that's the only time in my life I've ever felt guilty, which is kind of scary, guys.
That is a scary. 16 years ago.
But
Like,
that's your moment of guilt. Not I cheated on someone, or I
all the
broke up with
times
someone, or I bankrupted a business, or I ruined this family's life.
Yeah. He was trying to be a normal guy, and that's what he feels guilty about, that he was trying to be, I guess, someone that he's not. And he just had to be someone he is.
He smiled and he winked at her at the end and said kind of like, hey, take my advice. And do you think she will?
I don't know if she will or not. I don't know if that's kind of her losing her soul in a sense, or if she's going to become more like the boys. I don't know. What do you think, Brooke?
He said that the reason that he decided to fly first class was because he wanted to be understated when it comes to his investors,
Right,
and kind of be like
for
the
the greater
normal
good.
people for the greater good. And I think what he's trying to tell her was that, like, you don't need to be that person.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to end up screwing you over in the end. I realize that. Like, sometimes having that guilt is not really practical or functional for you. So maybe you'll realize that later on. Like, and so that's what I took from it, and I think maybe she might remember that.
I think you're
as we
right.
go.
Yeah.
Very astute.
And maybe save $250,000 and keep that nice car. You never know.
Yeah.
But so we see at Axe Capital, always you can find some humor from the people that are working there.
Always at Axe Capital.
Always at Axe Cap, yeah.
Is there only humor at Axe Capital? Is there ever humor at Team Chuck?
I don't think so, ever, no.
Not that I can think of.
I mean,
I mean,
that's-
occasionally, like, one of them might say something witty, Kate, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
Not
witty
really,
line,
no.
though, but I think that's the difference, too,
Yeah.
between working at a government business and then
Yeah.
also working at this place where you're making millions of dollars a year and you're just, I don't know, you're all on the same
Holding
floor
on to a
there.
dollar bill
Yeah,
for
And let's
exactly.
face it, Team Chuck, he didn't get by on Chuck didn't get by on his wit and his charm. He gets by on his hard work and his
Tenacity.
diligence. Yes, right. So
Yeah.
so anyway.
Yeah, and so Dollar Bill freaks out about this missing dollar, and then the guy that actually, takes the dollar even does a laminated printout of it and puts it on his computer just to kind of, dig that knife a little deeper. And Wags is the one who actually finds out who the guy is, and that just also shows Wags' character. Wags can read people as well as Axe, and I don't think we give Wags enough credit
agree.
for all the stuff he does. We kind of just see him as that, that second person to Axe. But also, he's that VP, that second person for a reason, and he's good at what he does. But we
Right.
don't really get to see that often.
It was nice to see that.
Yeah.
And the guy's intention is to knock him off his game, so the heat goes off him for being a lame.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing that came out of it was he gets moved to a different seat, but Bonnie, this new character,
Bonnie, yes.
takes
I
the
like
seat.
Bonnie. She's funny.
And
yeah.
Bonnie, who watches everything that close, doesn't miss anything, and we know she was brought in by Axe. Well, that's what Axe wants me to do. She said so.
What's that leading to, though? What
Yeah,
is
really.
that
What is she
foreshadowing?
watching? Yeah.
Ooh,
What
I
is
don't
she
know.
watching closely? Now she's next to Dollar Bill. Is this going to be something she catches Dollar Bill doing wrong? And is this something that it's going to bring down the company? Who knows? But there's something big with her. But you're right. Her character is fun. And it's
Yeah.
great because if you're going to sit down there and hang out with the boys, she needs to be tough.
Right.
And when Dollar Bill starts walking towards her, she's like, don't you move one more effing step. Like,
I
Exactly.
wonder if she's brought in because we need a bad female. Mm-hmm. It's getting too easy to predict that all the women in this are the ones who have some kind of compass
yeah.
and are always giving the smart advice, it seems. And so if she came in through Axe, then maybe she's going to be Axe's girl. And if I'm going long lead prediction on this, maybe she becomes kind of his Wendy. Obviously, she's not doing human resources, but in a sense where she'll be his little gangster and thug out there. Mm-hmm. And again,
It's bad Wendy, though, not as good Wendy.
I'm just saying Wendy
Yeah.
in respect of someone he can trust and be his assassin and go to him, because Wendy, we see it's getting shaky between them.
Yeah.
Taylor, totally shaky. If not even worse than shaky. It's on the table now
Yeah.
that there's a rift. So I think that's where she's going to fit in, but I also do think because of the tone of the show, who knows if she doesn't flip the other way. And
Yeah.
it's funny because the creator of the show is a huge wrestling fan, and there's even a reference today about heel, and heel is being a villain in wrestling. And right now, think, and when you turn into a good guy, it's a face turn. And so I would not be surprised if she isn't the thug gangster loyal soldier for Axe, but then eventually has the face turn to work with the females. I just,
Ooh,
again, I mean,
that is a deep prediction there, Kev. I like it, though.
I'm going along.
I have another
Yeah, what do you
random
think?
deep prediction.
Let's
so
hear it,
I don't
girl.
know if you guys know. Okay, I'm sure you know that this whole story is predicated on SAC Capital by Stephen A. Cohen, who owned SAC Capital in real life, and Preet Bharara, who's the former Southern District of New York Attorney General, U.S. Attorney in real life. And what's going on now that SAC Capital in real life is back to after he was indicted. Actually, he was never indicted, but he paid a fee. Now he's able to manage his own money. He has a new company called, I think it's Point 72 or Venture 72. And a woman, actually a former college friend of mine, she joined the company, and she is now with this whole Me Too campaign and all. She's actually suing Stephen A. Cohen.
Really?
And so they're really dealing with this huge fallback on how they're treating women and the environment that these women are in, because it's primarily men. And of course, we've seen this patriarchal, misogynistic environment.
And by the way, racist too.
Yeah.
With Dollar Bill and
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is the
Ben
snag
Kim.
that Stephen Cohen has hit in real life, and then Axe is Stephen.
That's some
And
good
so
insider info
I'm
there.
curious if not Wendy, Bonnie is her name's Lauren Bonner. This is all over New York Times anyhow. So I'm not putting anything out that people
Brooke,
don't
a
already know.
valuable pickup.
Look at this.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
huge.
if Bonnie is the woman who's going to be the snag for Axe now that he's gotten past this whole potential indictment, just like Stephen A. Cohen. I mean, this might be me way projecting really far, but
there may
it-
be something there.
it could mean that there's a hostile environment for women. I mean, we've seen that from the very beginning. The girl who left, I think it was in season 1, who was like this huge go-getter, and Wendy saw that they were going to take her down, and she helped her get out early.
Yeah.
So that might be another.
That may be the
possibility.
reason why, because you're right.
Yeah.
They do draw a lot of stuff. I'll point that out too. They do
Maybe.
draw a lot of stuff from the real world. Like we talk about, even
Exactly.
them bringing up the
I
whole
mean,
Russian
we've got a
stuff.
Russian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
whole
That's
Russian,
the whole-
everything that's going
We've got
on.
dirty money with Russians right now, too.
There's a
everything
reason
that
for bringing
the Trump
someone new.
administration. You
Exactly.
can see that you feel like the general works. Jeff Coe's working under a Trump-like president. I think, and I also, we cannot take lightly the Ben Kim racist thing. I think once again it's a clash of generations. The older generation was flip about sexuality. They were flip about stereotypes.
Diversity,
Back that's how it was. Mad Men, if you were a fan of Mad Men, was way worse in the 60s.
Yeah.
And they used to show it on that show. But you see this clash, and I think it's very interesting, and I think it's ominous, and I think it is foreshadowing.
Yeah, there's huge foreshadowing.
Of the old guard versus the
you're
new
not
guard.
going to bring in a new character too without them causing some type of havoc. Like we already have our core team there at Axe, and those are all the people we need to know there. And so anyone else that comes new, they're going to give either good or bad to what's already happening in our normal storyline.
Right. So
we
they might stay true to what's really happening.
Yeah, girl.
With Axe in real life. So.
Wow, I like the correlation of the name too, Bonnie and then Laurel.
Oh, her name's Lauren Bonner.
Lauren
actually.
Bonner. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Let's put your name out there more, Lauren. But,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? She is still reporting to work, which is amazing.
Yeah.
She has filed this lawsuit to tell the world what the environment is like, and she still goes to work every single day at what would be Axe Capital.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that, and
Yeah.
let's hear next week if there's any more updates on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's talk about another rift that's happening. You brought that up, Kev. Is Taylor and Axe, and Taylor's just kind of fed up with everything Axe is doing. She knows, or they know that there's a lot of shady stuff going on. Taylor even sees the Russian go into his office to sign a deal. And Taylor doesn't know how to handle it. Confronts Axe, fails at that, and then has to go to Wags and be like, how do you deal with Axe when he's wrong? And Wags is like, Axe is never wrong. And you just see Wags just being that number 2, always sticking up for him. But then,
Let's go meet off campus.
let's meet off. If you want to talk about this, we're going to meet off campus. And you're going to get the lowdown of why my loyalty is so huge. And he tells an amazing story about, we get a little deep, and you can see that Taylor is very uncomfortable as well in the car listening to that story, because it was
Right.
getting into a weird situation. But basically the moral of the story was, Axe knew before he knew, and he didn't listen. And if he only listened, he wouldn't have dealt with all that heartbreak and all the horrible stuff that happened after. How did you feel about that, listening to Wags kind of open up in that sense? Did you agree with him?
Well, I liked getting a little insight into Wags and what makes him tick, and, this whole story about his ex-wife, or I guess separated wife, and how he liked how she danced. But
everywhere, waiting for a restaurant.
But what did that lead to? He liked how she danced, and it led just a liking of seeing her dance, and then the rage in her face when he would watch her. She got rageful and annoyed. Then they'd have crazy sex, right? All these decisions, and he says, "This is a beautiful house. I don't own it. I have it because of Axe, but I don't own it." And I think the reason he doesn't own it is because he let his loins get in the way. He was emotional, made all these mistakes, got weak due to sex, married this lady who's awful, probably to him, other than sex. And to me, Axe from the beginning said, "Don't marry her." And he's like, how loyal is that to say, she sucks, basically. I think that was the quote.
Like immediately, she sucks.
But yeah. Axe knows what's up, and he doesn't. It also, I think, foreshadows his weakness. It was great that he pointed out the guy who stole the dollar bill, but I still feel like there is, he's not Axe, and I feel like there's going to, I don't know, I still feel that him lying on that grave at the very beginning is foreshadowing that he's gonna fall to all this.
Well, do you think it's because he's always in Axe's shadow, in a sense, and he relies too much on Axe, and he hasn't been able to be his own person, and that's why?
But when he is his own person, he basically gives half of his fortune to someone he just likes to have sex with.
Yeah, but you also can't give all your life and all your decisions to another human to kind of make for you.
But I'm saying, I don't think he has the capacity. When he tried to make decisions on his own, right? When Axe said she sucks, he said, "Nah, screw it. She's awesome. She dances great. I love her. I have to have her."
That's blinded by love there. Yeah.
Well, but passion and weakness, and I just don't see those weaknesses in the other characters.
I don't think he has that gut instinct that Axe has, and will never have it. And I think that's what really separates them. Because Axe is constantly, like he said, taking in information and having to make split decisions based on his gut. And Wags can never do that. I think he looks up to him because of it. Wags is his little partner who helps him when, he needs that person to kind of to lean on, but he'll never be able to make the kind of decisions that Axe makes. So, but maybe at some point he'll be the person that Axe can call on, because he's obviously getting himself into some deep trouble here. And remember, now I'm skipping ahead, but we'll talk about this later. Yeah. When he's sitting in the car waiting because he doesn't want to go in to meet with the Russian.
Yeah, he was a little baby.
Yeah. So maybe for once he's gonna have the gut instinct that Axe should be listening to.
Interesting. And I will tell you something. A flaw I think in Wags too, and in Axe, is when he says Axe is never wrong. There's no such person on this planet who plays a perfect game. Right. We're all wrong at one point in our lives. And so to think that someone's never wrong, that is a blind, childish trust. So to your point, child, sitting in the car, of course he's wrong. So for him to believe that, there's a flaw in Wags. And we know that Axe believes that, which is a flaw. That's such hubris, which is eventually usually leads to your demise.
Yeah, and we see Taylor sitting there listening to everything that Wags is saying, but then we see in these previews that, maybe we think that Taylor is going to, take it, but at least with a grain of salt of, okay, trust Axe more, I'll trust Axe more. But now in the previews, we see Taylor flying into Axe's room and saying, what the hell did you just do? Or what the hell are you doing? Well, and Taylor is, confronting him again. No, I'm not listening to what Wags said. He's doing something wrong, and he's not right. This isn't right, and I need to talk to him about it. So we'll try to see what that actually is.
And she obviously tried to foil the whole Russian situation too with her presentation, which is really funny as well.
It was funny. But I wouldn't take it lightly. Yeah. Not just in the respect that she rebelled against Axe, but what she was pitching was socially conscious ownership, and we're seeing a millennial movement. And I've been saying this from the beginning. Is I think that they represent the hope for capitalism, which is to be socially conscious capitalism, socially aware. Now, of course, she knew they were gonna vomit in her face that these Russians, dirty Russians were gonna say, "Are you crazy?" But I still think I could see her pitching that to other people, and I think that's really what she wants to do.
Yeah, and now she's rebuilding her quant team again. She has her core team of little coders and nerds, and they're all, in this secret little meeting, it looked like. But Taylor was so excited about it and happy to kind of start this new venture. So I'm excited that they are actually getting ready and getting to do that.
And there'll be more comic relief with the other guys. Like, I just can't help being a dick.
Yeah.
He's gonna really be funny.
He's gonna be hilarious, and he's actually. I was telling you while we were watching, he's actually on Broadway. So it was good that he's transitioning now as well. I don't know what else he's done, but he was on Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway, and he was amazing. I just saw it. Way to go. Nice. So that was cool. Just noticing little characters like that. Now let's talk about the big thing. Axe and Grigor Andelin. Man, is that man scary or what? How do you feel? Well, first of all, what did you think of his Russian accent? Yeah. Malkovich's accent.
I'm a huge Malkovich fan, but I couldn't tell if I thought the accent was bad, or because I'm just so used to Malkovich's voice that I couldn't adjust to it. So now I have to defer to you guys.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think at some points I was kind of like, oh, that just sounds like a typical Rush. But also it was just funny. Yeah. Maybe the words he was saying and like the stories he was going on. What did you think?
I have been listening to a lot of Russian accents lately since I follow the Trump administration and all of these Russians. But I didn't think it was horrible.
Okay.
But then again, I don't know John Malkovich's voice as well.
No, he probably is. It's my bias.
Fine. Yeah. It seemed fine. Okay. But once again, here we are dealing with Russians, and it's parallelism to present state. And even with getting the Secretary of Treasury involved as well, and his wanting to create a back channel, it's just like brings me back to everything that we cover every single day with the Trump administration.
Isn't that crazy? And we shouldn't have these parallels, but we do.
And special counsel, which we'll see later on with Connerty.
So as me, I feel I'm closer to the Koppelman age group, which is why I can translate in the Millennial Translator. I can translate all things he throws out there, but I think it was not a coincidence that Malkovich is skating with the New York Islanders, and he goes, I'm thinking of buying this team, and there's a great 30 for 30 about a guy years ago who tried to buy the Islanders. He was a complete scam artist, and it was really messy, and it just a complete dysfunctional mess that, put the franchise in jeopardy for over a decade probably, and they've barely recovered. I mean, they're fine now, but...
Jeez, that's
but
terrifying.
I think that's why. I think that's why they had. It was just a wink, wink, nod to a New Yorker, a sports fan who knows.
There you go.
It's a messed up organization, and like another corrupt guy goes, "Yeah, I think I might buy this team."
Playing hockey there, man.
Yeah, so just so funny again. Just a little wink, wink, laugh.
Yeah.
What is this Millennial Translator? Is this you?
Yeah, because because a lot of the the stuff. Brian's got to be in his 50s, and he's a New York guy. He likes wrestling, sports, and he's so highly educated. So on the one hand, he's giving you, Tchaikovsky and Shakespeare and these other references. But then on the other hand, he's giving you WWF references, old 80s movies references, so. Yeah,
and Kev catches a lot of the stuff that I don't. And so we're watching, he's like, "Did you get that?" I'm like, no, I only got the Nicki Minaj reference about her booty. That's it. Yeah. So it's good. He translates it for all of us. Nice. So it's fun.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the middle, so. Yeah. On the tail end of the millennial.
Oh, you've already earned your check, baby. You've already earned it.
So we got it. We have it all here. So they do these meetings back and forth, Axe and Grigor, and every meeting is just Axe, and it's a power play back and forth with them.
Talk of hunting, tons of hunting.
And all these references are just like these big, strong men just talking to each other, and like who's going to win this convo and this convo, and just every little move of, Axe getting closer and pouring more bourbon for him, and then Grigor throwing the 8-ball into the hole and making it. And it's just all these little power struggle that we see back and forth.
He threatens, and then the line gets drawn when he threatens.
Talks about his family.
Chuck's, Axe's kids.
Oh, yeah. He brings that back.
I thought that was great. Where Axe's like, all right, buddy. Don't you do that again, and now you're going to find out who I am.
But also, Axe is stupid. Why do you invite him over to your house? I understand the whole message of I'm not afraid of you. You know where I live. That's what it is. But still, no, I would never go that far to show that. Because what about if stuff goes sour?
The fact that he's even considering taking his money, I feel like...
I think you need to. I think you need to get close with him. I think you need to show him you're not afraid, and he's a billionaire, powerful man. Yeah. Russian mafia is still very formidable. Yeah. They could easily find that house in 2 seconds, so it's not really a big deal to have him there. But I liked him sticking up for his kids because I feel like he does love his kids.
He does,
in his own way. Yeah. He's flawed, and he's we're seeing him make decisions where he's putting money over the kids. But I still think end of the day there's a human in there.
Oh, of course he loves it. Yeah,
And so I
he
like
definitely loves his kids.
And as their relationship progresses, by the end, I think we find out who's really the evil, diabolical one, and that's making the same look that Axe had. I mean, the same look that Chuck had when the coyote was shot.
Yeah.
Of like, oh my God, it's a parallel look that Axe has after Malkovich tells him this story.
Yeah.
He's horrified, and which we'll talk about
that's
later.
right. Yeah. But also, he protects his children, but then he also protects the Secretary of State, and he gets very upset. They're having that backdoor meeting where
Brought to you by Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love
How
that.
great was that?
Oh
was
my
great.
God, that little cameo. Every
love
episode we have a
that
cameo
cameo.
of someone, and this time we had an NBA star there.
Well, there's a bunch of stars that are fans of the show, but we keep hearing that the NBA players are particularly strong fans of Billions. So
It's like watching Entourage again, where everyone wants to go in and make a
Right.
Go
cameo.
do all
because
that,
they're like,
yeah. $100,000 to just say like "Happy Bar Mitzvah, man." There you go.
Yeah.
Cheers. Like it's great. That's awesome. It's amazing. He made that happen. But he sticks up for Alex sticks up for the Secretary of State in that little behind the restaurant meeting. Also, he knows every restaurant owner. Like all those meetings always happen behind the scenes at
Right.
restaurants, But anyway, so what did you guys think of that? Of him actually sticking up for him, being like, no, you're not going to drag him down too with this.
I mean, that was ultimately his power play.
Yeah.
What got Grigor to go ahead and say, you know what? I see that trust and that loyalty. I want that too. But I don't think that he realized that that's what he was doing around the corner, that that's what was going to make Grigor say, okay, I'm in. I think ultimately he was trying to stay true to his real color since he really has this. Well, you know what? Actually, do we know that he has that connection with him? Because when he's talking to Kevin Durant, he's like, so this is a really good friend of yours? You really like this kid? He's like, no, it's not really a good friend of mine.
Yeah, they're not good friends. It's just he gave him
now I'm
info.
wondering why he was saying that this was his brother.
well, because
He was purposely doing this as a power play.
It was a power play to win
Yeah.
the deal. He
Yeah.
was saying, hey, I have his back, and if we work together, I'm going to have your back too.
Right.
Okay? So, no, that's how I roll. You can either roll with me or no. And then Malkovich goes, all right, that's my kind
Then
of
I'll
guy.
roll with you. Yeah.
Oh, listen, and again, as a guy that's probably more from the Koppelman era, we grew up in a time where the Soviet Union was the big bad wolf, and they were so powerful, and they was almighty. Like we thought. And even then, like, your American gladiators on little skywalks, he's like, would be killed by our third grades. Like, besides the 1% of the Russians that were doped up with steroids that went to compete in the Olympics, like I'm sorry, go look up the average lifespan and the average size and weight of a Russian man. Sorry.
Yeah.
But whatever. So that's me, child of the '70s, just getting all like
Get all heated up about it.
Get
Yeah.
into my Rocky IV phase.
Yeah, but that
Sorry.
meeting ultimately ends up. He goes and he signs the papers. He walks into Axe Cap, and that's where Taylor sees him coming in, and so there's going to be something there. And I think that's the reason we see the next week the previews. Taylor getting so heated. Taylor understands what's happening now, and
Taylor
she saw
says
that
this
meeting.
is a criminal. Why are we doing
What are we
business
doing this-
with a criminal?
Yeah, don't be an idiot. You just got out of like being under the government's eye. Like leave it alone. Let's just be Axe Cap again. And so let's talk about that ominous story as he's signing the papers.
Jeez,
That got deep real quick, and then we kind of just left the show on a Bob Dylan sad song, and that was it. And it was
And
like
the look of Axe looking
exactly.
like, wait a second.
Yeah, and so, like we said, Chuck had this moral compass and code that we saw play
Right.
out. And so at the end of the episode, this is when we see Chuck's kind of coming into play again of like, uh-oh, what did I just do?
What did we just do?
Yeah.
So you guys, who wants to, Brooke, will you recap the story?
Oh, gosh.
Do you have it?
Well, let me just say this. The whole time they're trying to one-up each other on who's more of the alpha male, and we know that Grigor ultimately takes the cake with this one, and I was like, just kind of... the story was pretty bad. So ultimately he tells him, back in the day when it was around Christmas time, I used to go and wait in line to get this really warm wine. You want me to retell the whole story?
Well, I think
It's
important. Well, the important elements of it was during Christmas time, so this is a nice time.
This is family
and
time.
I'm feeling, I don't know, but you guys, I'm feeling as though we're seeing the sweeter, warmer side
Right.
of Malkovich's
more
character,
humane
Grigor,
side. There's
right?
potentially a humane
Right.
side.
So I'm like, oh wow, okay, here we go.
And then he goes and he talks about raping this woman and giving her to the soldiers, and how he basically leaves this boy who wanted his drink and his alcohol, leaves him motherless. And it's just this horrible twist of events.
He's going to do something nice, although I don't know why it's nice to give a little boy warm wine, but give him a sip, just a little sip.
That's even the first move, right? That's his idea of nice.
Just a sip, because he's this poor boy he's cold, he needs a sip. Then he sees his mother and her bosoms.
Her plump breasts, which, she must have known someone. Our translation was that, someone paid for those breasts for her to have them.
Or she gets around or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And then we know that he takes her to the back and rapes her, essentially.
Yeah.
And even worse than that, after he hands her over to the soldiers to probably rape her.
Yeah, and who knows what ended up happening to her after. But we were talking about, when we were watching it, is kind of who that little boy represents.
Well, when
and
he comes back,
represent?
just don't leave out that line.
Yeah, that's the most important
He came
line.
back, and this is how cynical and dark this man's view is. He doesn't see, I didn't come back, and I saw a poor boy who now is going to be an orphan or have a mother who's shattered, whatever.
Yeah.
And I saw this little boy staring at me with his greedy, drunken eyes. Like, he was making it out to be like the boy was a little demon.
Yeah.
And then I always wondered what happened to that little boy, and I think that's where we had the comparisons of, who is this boy? I mean, not who he is in real life, but who symbolically he is. And I think it could be Axe, because Axe just took the sip of the wine, while this guy's now going to rape Axe Capital.
Ooh.
And now he's going to find out what happens to that, like the greedy,
I
drunken
kind of love
eyes.
that prediction,
Right? And I think, I also think when Axe looks at him, he's like, oh my God, I thought I was bad being guilty over a flight or whatever. Like, you're really a bad guy. And what the F have I done? And it's a parallel to the look, and why I say I think someday Axe and Chuck work together.
Again,
I really do.
Yeah, to bring it down. Man, well, we're talking about predictions. What's going to happen? We're kind of running over time right now, so let's just skip ahead right to predictions, and let's talk it out. There it is.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Always wait for that. So, Kev, let's start it off with you.
Okay, you're going to see Chuck going on the attack to assassinate the general, but it's going to involve the FBI, and Connery's there, who you humiliated. You let your emotions get to you, and that is going to be a big bloodbath, or the beginning of one. And then we're going to see the Russians beginning to take liberties, and we hear 1.5 million, or a sum of 1.5 out of an account. Could be 1.5 billion. I don't know, and I don't know what that's for. Is that for the start of the quant group, or is that something to do with the Russians? But to me, he holds up a silver hard drive. Is that the crypto drive that was given to McPhee, which I said would come back and haunt McPhee later?
Yeah, possibly.
About that too.
Yeah, Brooke?
I agree with the whole Chuck needing to utilize the FBI to get him where he needs to go and find a resolution. I was hoping maybe he would work with Connery instead of them batting up against each other. So we'll see what happens there. But when it comes to the Russians and Taylor, for example, she has this group, this underground nerd group. I'm hoping that she starts to make some revelations about what's going on and kind of help steer him in the right way instead of it being the other way around and they keep moving further apart, she and X.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
What do you think?
There's a lot of crazy stuff coming ahead. I think that Connery now going to be working with the FBI. I think you're right that there's going to be some type of connection with Rhoades and Chuck, because now they're on this same moral code of like being good people, but they're also dealing with horrible people, even though Axe is doing it willingly and Chuck is just trying to get outside of it. But I don't know. I think it's gonna come down to another big bang at the end of season 3, and we're gonna have to wait till season 4 once again. And my heart is gonna be broken, and now it's gonna be shattered for an entire year. But that's Billions for ya. So you guys, everyone, let us know what you guys think, what your predictions are. Thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to
Nadine,
come by next week.
Can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Can you put the news up on our YouTube?
Yes,
feed?
I will.
Why don't you put the news
Yeah,
up?
I'll put the news up there. There's a great article by Forbes, DirecTV. They did an entire survey of what would people do if they took billion situations and put it in real life. It's interesting to see how people responded and said.
And then let's also put up. We had a new segment. We were going to do Catches of the Week.
Catches of the Week.
We have a great fan, the super fan, Mike August, who's a fantastic writer, and he has all the catches similar to the Millennial Translator.
A little bit,
and he sent us a really good thing. Let's have that published as well.
Yeah,
That's
we'll have that up there for you guys to see.
YouTube.
Now, Kev, where can they find you this week?
You can find me at Undergaro. You can check out AfterBuzz TV Bar Rescue, AfterBuzz TV Jersey Shore. I do, and of course this show as well, and the Tomorrow Show on Wednesday nights.
Nice.
And
Thank
Brooke?
you guys for having me. I'm so glad to be a part. I'm a
Welcome.
big
You did
believer.
great.
Awesome
Yay!
Thank you. You can find me on all social media at Brooke Soliz TV and also on the Trump Report.
Yeah, and as always, you guys can find me at Nadine Della Pelle. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.